Boom. All right, Mr. Brian Passenti, welcome back to the Do Big Things podcast. How are
Thanks for
you,
having
buddy?
me.
Of
I'm doing
course, of
well. Thanks
course.
for having me. It's
Yeah, man.
springtime in the Rockies. I just came back from a run. I just an easy recovery run of 5 miles. So
Okay,
I was
nice.
able to get it in, and yeah, I'm doing well.
Attaboy. This a recovery week for you?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I saw that somewhere. I don't know if it was your Strava or something, but so if this is a recovery week, does that mean you had like 3 hard weeks with big mileage before that, or what does it look like for you?
Sure, yeah. We do periodization.
Yep.
We do periodization building. We start out a little bit harder on week 1 and taper off to week 3.
Okay.
It's more of like a coop concept.
Yep.
Of putting the hard work first when you're fresh, instead of putting the hard work at the end when you're not fresh. A recovery week, I actually use the term recovery week, but in terms of training and coaching, recovery is usually based on hours. So I do have some hard workouts this week, but the last 2 days have been pretty easy.
Okay. So it's pretty much 3 on, 1 off, 3 on, 1 off, and it just goes that way for how long?
We've been doing 3 on, 1 off now, but who knows when we get closer. We could break it up. We could do 2 on, 1 off. In the past, I've done when I had a reverse or the standard classic traditional periodization. I would do a hard week and a harder week, and then a recovery week, back in my triathlon days. But trying to manipulate 3 sports, 2 weeks was enough to want a recovery week. And that was really more like 5 days, I get a good Monday through Friday off, and then start the weekend off with some hard work again.
Okay, cool. Yeah. No, I was just curious. And by the way, congrats. You just passed your USCA coaching exam today.
I
Finally.
did.
Dude, I think that I signed up for that coaching program because you were the one who told me about it. And then I passed the test like months ago, and then you finally passed it today. So as I always call you out, so I'm just going to call you a slacker again, but congrats anyways, buddy.
So I signed up on January 10th or something along those lines of 21. And I had till January 10th of 22 to finish it. You have a year to do the training and get the test in. And so in December, I knew I wasn't going to hit it. So I emailed them, and they gave me an extension of 3 months. So today is my last day of that extension.
Oh,
I had to do it
way.
today. It was going to expire tomorrow. So I was like, all right, I got to buckle down and get it done.
And I think we scored about the same. You said you got like a 96 or something, and I think that's about what I got. It took me like 8 hours. It sounds like you did it a couple hours faster than me.
I took 6 hours, and I got a 96 percent. I got 6 wrong.
Okay.
And I could not find those questions in the manual, in the book, on the online training stuff.
You know what? I bet you anything. I bet you it's the same questions.
We should compare those questions.
I bet you it is, because the questions that I got wrong, I swear they weren't in there, because I combed through those books for every answer, man. So
I gave it about a good 10 minutes on that. I gave it about 10 minutes on each question, the ones that I was looking for. And if I didn't find it, then I took an educated guess. And I think those 6 are educated guesses, and they were apparently wrong. So
yeah. Well, congrats. I mean, you're already a coach. You've already been coaching people, and now you've got this certification. Do you feel like, did you learn anything along the way? Did you pick up any new tricks or tips? I know you're a big fan of Jason Koop's latest book, which I haven't had a chance to dig into yet, but where are you at with your coaching? Are you still evolving? Where are you at?
So I'm always evolving. I mean, I think coaching and the learning process is always an evolution. I'm never going to know it all. I do like Coop. I am on the Coop bus. I'm on the Coop train for sure. That book is really good. The second edition. I don't even know the name of it, but if you Google it, you'll find it. Jason Koop. But he also was the main contributing editor for all the USCA information in their ultra running certification program. So it kind of overlaps. So listening to his podcast, reading the book, and then using the manual, it all aligns the same. There's no, I mean, it's all the same concepts. So it's pretty good. So I could go for a run, listen to a podcast about training structure. And then when I go to the manual and I was looking at training structure, it's the same information.
Yeah.
Definitely learned a lot.
How long has Coop been around? I feel like I remember seeing, I remember seeing him in videos like 15 years ago at least, and he was coaching people way back then. So I know he's been around for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know, but I know it's a long time. Yeah, he's been around the block for a long time.
Yeah.
I think he lives out here
for sure.
I think he lives out here in Western Colorado somewhere.
Oh, really?
Like Durango-ish area. I don't know why I feel like that, but anyway.
And this year you are training for Leadman and Moab 240, right?
Yeah, they changed the name of Leadman to Lead Challenge.
Maybe did I hear about that? I can't remember. Why did they do that?
Well, I think they wanted to eliminate the man part of it and make it more.
Is that why? Okay.
I'm taking a guess, but I don't know. It's called the Lead Challenge now, and it's all 5 events of Leadville. You got the marathon in June. You got the 50 bike, the Silver Rush. Oh, look at that! Look at that promo right there. Silver Rush. Silver Rush 50 bike or 50 run in July.
Which one are you doing?
Right now, we're talking about doing the run.
Who's we?
My coach and I. Coach Larry.
Oh,
Coach
Larry?
Yeah,
Larry?
Just on.
He's doing the Leadman with you?
No, he's coaching me.
Okay.
Yeah, so between Coach and I, we're talking about currently our plan is to do the run, but just where I'm at in my fitness, there's always the option, I think up until about 10 days before the event to change if you're in the Lead Challenge series. So that's July. And then in August, you have the 100 bike on a Saturday. I don't know what the date is. I have no idea, but it's like the second week of August. And then on Sunday, you have the 10K run. And then the following Saturday, you have the 100 run.
Okay.
That's 5 events. Yeah.
And this is your first Leadman.
I did Leadman.
No, you've done.
I did Leadman in 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How was your experience in 18? Do you feel like you can improve that time?
Oh yeah, there's tons of room for improvement. I actually when I did sign up and get in, I posted about it saying that that I did do it and have done it, but I was so close to the cutoffs and almost everything.
Really?
The bike cutoff is 12 hours and I was 11:51. And the run cutoff is obviously 30 hours. And I was 29. I think I was 17 that year, 29, 17. And both times my crew was just sweating and pacing it out. And, and on the bike, actually, I didn't have a watch and no bike computer. I had flatted once. I didn't have tubeless tires. I flatted once and had to change the tire. And then I crashed on my way inbound. And actually, after I finished, I went to urgent care because I thought I broke a metacarpal in my hand. I had hit the ground so hard I thought I had I just broke my pinky bone in my hand, but it was just severely bruised or something like that. But so I think there's tons of room for improvement. Yeah.
Do you have any goals this year going into it, or is it just go as hard as we can and see what happens?
No, we do. When I jumped on board with Coach Larry, we talked about those goals. I want to do really well at the marathon, the first event. I want to try to get a golden coin for the 2023 Leadville 100 run.
Okay.
And then, not that I would back off, but ease up just slightly for the other 3 events, the 50, the 100 bike, and the 10K, and then try to come in for a big belt buckle for the 100 run.
Ooh. Okay.
So just kind of
that's interesting.
Bookending it on the bookends, the first race and the last race going pretty hard.
That's an interesting strategy. Is that common among Leadman competitors?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Well, it's a good plan. I mean, that way you can get into the 100 the next year. And yeah, everyone feels good getting that big buckle. If you can come in sub 25 with the Leadville 100 run, that's cool. It's a good game plan, man.
Yeah.
And then once you get that done, then you just have an easy 240 miles to run in
Oh
Moabs.
man, I
what,
do.
like a month or two later, right?
Gosh, it is September, October. It's 2 months later. Yeah. I think
2 months later.
It's not even a full 2 months. It's like 7 weeks.
Okay.
But that's depending on how bad I get beat up. It could be could be an easy transition or it could be pretty challenging. But 7 weeks is 7 weeks. It is what it is.
Well, I'm planning on being out there for as much as I can, man, and I'll do
nice.
whatever I can to help. And even if I can't help in one way or another, I'll just sit out there and talk smack and do what I normally do. But yeah, it should be fun, man. It's going to be a good season. Well, cool, man. Thanks for doing this. Yeah, just wanted to catch up and just bullshit, I guess. It's been a while since I've had you on. You've been on the show a couple times before, right?
I was on for the 240 in 2020 that I finished. Just a little bit after that. I want to say maybe November-ish. And I think I co-hosted with you when we talked to Gemini Adventures, Reed and Kayla, I want to say.
No, you weren't there for that one. You were there for Mr. Kuhn. Is it Eric Kuhn?
Oh no. Kyle
Kuhn. You were there for that one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, man. Well, we live on opposite sides of the state, but I feel like we're sort of collaborating often, from time to time and pitching ideas back and forth to each other. And you're a coach, I'm a coach. We're always working on our businesses and trying to sharpen each other up. And I had your coach on the podcast recently, Larry DeWitt. He seemed like a really stellar dude. I know you guys just went out and biked the whole White Rim 100-mile loop in a day. And I wish I could have gone with you guys. I was pretty envious of that, but it looks like you guys had a blast.
It was a good time. It was fun. He and his friend Tom, they both they coach high school mountain biking team in Colorado Springs. And man, those two guys are hammerheads, man.
Really?
Yeah, I was having trouble keeping up. I was
really,
when you get in that little group and all those things, I was like the weak link on that day.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. And I was like, man, you never want to be the weak link. But what I did is I just kept persistently after it. Every time they stopped or wanted to take pictures, I'd been there before. I did take some pictures, don't get me wrong, but I didn't take as many as those guys did. But every time they kind of stopped and took some pictures, I'd either just keep on rolling just to kind of be efficient and keep moving. Larry had an issue with his seat dropper post. It wouldn't stay up. And then he found some guys with some trucks and some tools. And so they were working on it. And I just kept on pedaling as well. Mm-hmm. I was just trying to stay efficient and on it as opposed to like stopping and going. I figured if I stopped with them for 10 minutes, by the time we put it all back together, I'd still be falling behind. So I just thought I'd start, trying to stay ahead of the pack or ahead of the group. Yeah. And they were catching me every time. So yeah, those guys were hammerheads. They were strong.
They're riders. Both older than you too, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think roughly like 15 or 20 years older than me too. So it's not like, it's not like 3-4 years, it's not like.
Yeah. Studs.
Yeah.
How old are you? Remind me.
I would be 48 in May.
In May. Okay. Yep. So we're both 47. So cool. Well, right there together.
The White Rim was awesome.
Was it?
You should have came out. It was good. We could have.
I would have liked to.
We could have suffered together.
Well, I would have been out on my single speed trying to keep up with you guys, just pedaling as fast as I can. I would have had to borrow a mountain bike from one of you guys.
It's so deceiving. It was just the way we did it. We did ride about a 12 to a 14-mile climb, just steady, gradual, pretty easy. Steady grade, pretty minimal grade too, 4 or 5% at 6 at times, but nothing too great. And then you get to the top of the rim and then we descend it down and we just kind of rolled till about mile 50.
Really?
Yeah. So you're like totally recovered and all that, but like, that's like the doom, like there's gotta be this monster climb ahead of us because we have to get out of this canyon. We have to get out of this big box canyon that we're in, like somehow. So you're like, where is it? When is it coming? And so you do these two decent climbs before you get to the final penultimate climb to get out of the canyon. But yeah, it was kind of crazy because I had never done it that direction before. I've only done it in the counterclockwise direction, and we went clockwise.
Yeah, I was going to ask about which direction you went. Which way is better? How did you choose? I'm not super familiar with the White Rim Trail.
You know, I've probably done it a handful of times, but I haven't done it in 15 years. And every time I've done it, I've been with somebody else that's more experienced. And this was that case as well. Larry picked the route in the parking lot. He sent me a pin of where to meet him. And I was like 100 yards off of that pin, but sitting on the side of the dirt road. I slept in my car on the side of the dirt road, but just 100 yards down around this curve was this really nice parking lot with a porta potty. And I was like, I missed the pin by like 100 yards, but I thought if I got into the curves, I was going to be too far down the road. So in short order, every time I've gone with somebody with more experience and they picked the route. I've done it. We've done it overnight in the past on a full moon, and all the other times we're in the counterclockwise direction. This was clockwise for no apparent reason. It wasn't as bad as it could have been. The counterclockwise direction, you climb up Schaefer Trail, and it's significant. I don't know how many switchbacks it has in it, but it's a beast of a climb. It is, and it's all at once, so it all adds up. As opposed to the other way where we knocked some out in the morning, and then we knocked out half the climb out of the canyon in the morning on that 12-mile steady grade. Start right from the get-go. It was cold. It was cold enough that it was a decent ride. You know, you were just, working just hard enough to stay warm and keep it up. And, sun's coming up, getting a little bit higher in the sky. And then by the time you hit the bottom, it got pretty warm. Actually, I got sunburned.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. How much vert is the total on that loop? How much vert did you guys get?
I think my watch said it was like just shy of 7,000. That was 6,700.
Okay. That's not too bad.
Yeah, it wasn't extreme. For 100 miles, it's not that bad, but yeah.
And did it take you guys all day, or what was the time length on that one?
Yeah, we were back at the car a little over 12 hours from when we left, with the stopping and starting and all that kind of stuff. Those guys rode about 10 hours ride time, and I rode about 10 and a half hours ride time.
Okay.
And that's where I just kept on pushing when they kept stopping.
Would you consider that 100-mile bike ride good training for Leadville 100 mountain bike ride?
Yeah, definitely. It's all.
I mean, they're both 100. They're both about 12 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were. I mean, there's some differences, but there's a lot of similarities. It's a 2-track road the whole time on the White Rim. Okay. So no gnarly descends. I don't believe. I mean, Schaefer Trail is a fairly gnarly descent. You can fly on the straightaways, and you have to really lay up on the brakes in the hairpin turns. And there's probably, I don't know, 8 or 12 of those hairpin turns descending down. But yeah. But I think I think riding 100 miles on a dirt road is pretty equivalent to the Leadville 100 mountain bike race. Yeah.
I'll have to get out there soon. Whenever I get this plantar fasciitis healed up that you freaking gave me. I know we're joking around. Yeah, I know we're joking around about that the other night. You had plantar fasciitis. You came here for a visit. We went out for a run, and you were the one suffering with plantar really bad. And I actually felt it coming on very slightly at that point. And I thought, no, there's no way. I think that since Brian's talking about it, maybe I'm just imagining it. There's no way. And then we ended up being done. We got finished up for the day. And then after you took off, it sounded like yours was getting better almost right away, and mine started getting worse right away. And I've been suffering ever since then, dude. And you've been out there just killing it.
I think that was almost a year ago. And no, I suffered almost the whole year. I was kind of glad there was some sort of relief that Tahoe 200 last year was canceled due to fire, because that was going to be a tough challenge. I don't know if I was ready for it at that time, just with the planner dealing with it. I did do the Ure 50 last year and just kind of micromanaged the planner on that.
That's right.
But that was about the only event I did last year. Yeah, but it seems to be much better now, and just moving forward. So
yeah. And how about Moab this year? Are you planning on shaving off time from your previous experience there?
Yeah, definitely. I did 96 hours. I did 95, 35, just under 36 hours or 96 hours, which is 4 days exactly. So I started on Monday or Friday morning at 7 a.m. and I finished on Tuesday morning at like 6:45 a.m. or something like that. So yeah, I'm trying to shave. My goal on that race was just kind of a shot in the dark. But what I thought I was capable of doing was about 80 hours.
Nice.
So I was a little bit off, 96 hours. I mean, when you're talking cumulatively, but I took all the splits and wrote them all down and put them into this spreadsheet and did all these numbers and math and everything. And of course, you got to eat and you got to sleep something. I mean, even the front guys slept, 20, 30 minutes or something like that, Yep. But you're stopping at these aid stations, loading up on food, you're changing out from your day gear to your night gear, stripping off clothes, putting clothes back on. All those things add up. But my downtime or not moving time was like 19 hours. It's insane,
Wow.
right?
That's pretty significant.
That's almost like a full day of just not moving.
Right. What was the longest nap you took?
If I recall, they were less than an hour. It was 45.
Really?
Yeah, but I took quite a few 45-minute naps.
Okay. How did you end up with 19 hours of downtime?
Well, I did stop at, it was probably mile 200 or so. We came into mile 200 about 2:00, and it's west facing, so it's got late day sun on dry dirt roads, and my family was there. My wife and my girls showed up with my crew, and they had gotten the cars all like backed into this little nook and with a little bit of shade, and the aid station was cooking us burgers, and I just thought, this is totally cool. Why am I going to walk away from this? So we made the decision right then and there that we were going to stick around until the sun kind of went down a little bit. So we stayed around till like 5:30. So that's 3 hours right there. Yep. But you think you're efficient, but when you get into an aid station, I got to strip off all my dirty clothes, maybe wash my feet and my legs.
I mean, that's probably an hour right there. You're moving slow, taking clothes off, and I'm just picturing it. Yeah. That's damn near an hour.
Yeah, because that you hear it in concept, and you're like, oh yeah, you walk into the aid station and boom, you're sleeping for 45 minutes, and that's never the case.
Right.
Like, I gotta strip off all my dirty clothes, figure out what I'm going to put on next, tell the guys, we're digging through, they're pulling out stuff out of the pack, and I'm saying, keep that or don't keep this or put that in it. So, I mean, it's this whole process that just happens. And then by the time I lay down, they let me sleep for 45 minutes, but if I'm still talking and laying down for 15, that adds up. And, and then I do the other end of it. I got to put the shoes back on after I wake up and kind of get my jacket on and start moving really slow, maybe get, another burger in or some sort of calories, whatever the aid stations are handing out. So, a 45-minute nap can be anywhere from 2.5 hours, and apparently that can add up. So
yeah. And that's pretty standard for a 200-mile race. I'm trying to remember when last time you did Moab, that was your first 200+ mile race, wasn't it?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be your second.
Yep.
Moab again. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. And it just takes that long. You need breaks like that. I've crewed and paced at 200-mile races, and dudes will, and ladies will come into an aid station, and they might be there for 2 to 4 hours. They sit down, they on their phone, they're changing, they're eating, they're talking, and they really need that downtime in order to keep going. It's important, and it's just a different animal than a 50 or 100-mile race.
Yeah. I mean, I guess at Leadville, I don't think I've ever sat down for 45 minutes at an aid station.
Yeah. I don't think I have either. Yeah. Just not how it works in 100-mile races.
Yeah. I can't even think of a time that I've sat down at 100 for 45 minutes. But yeah.
Do you drink Athletic Brewing? This is not a sponsored ad, but I might as well make this a sponsored ad for Athletic Brewing, since they sponsor the podcast. Do you drink non-alcohol beer?
I do drink some athletic. I also drink a competitor's brand of non-alcoholic
How dare
beverages,
you? So do
which
I.
which I will not name. But in any case, yeah. But my local
O'Doul's.
store, my no, my it's funny. My father-in-law doesn't like to drink. Is what for whatever reason he doesn't like to drink. So he stumbled across a Heineken 0.0. It's their new O'Doul's or their new Heineken 0.0.
Yep,
And he stumbled across it and he like is pushing it on me all the time. And I'm like, man, that's like your grandpa's O'Doul's, like for real. Like there's some really good non-alcoholic brew out there.
Right.
You know, so I went to not Whole Foods, I went to like the natural grocery store, and they sell it like, you know, the 4-packs in the boxes and stuff.
Yep.
So I went and got him some for his birthday. Nice. And I haven't gotten the feedback yet, but I'm pretty sure he's like over the 0.0, hopefully.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. And
when I was drinking, I didn't even like Heineken. So like to push a 0.0 Heineken on me isn't really like appealing.
Really?
Yeah.
I never,
no. Yeah.
What did you drink?
Oh, I drank almost everything except for Heineken, and I don't know.
I picture you drinking a Modelo. Are you a Modelo man?
I didn't drink Modelo. I did drink like Coronas. I drank a lot of Tecate, but I actually drank. I think probably if we're talking about beers, I drank just a ton of Blue Moon. I mean, anywhere I went, I was drinking Blue Moon. Yeah.
Really? That was your stuff?
Yeah. And then they made like halfway or like. In the time that I lived in Colorado, they started making it in a can. So it was like even easier to transport around, you know, it wasn't so like having all these glass bottles all over the place at the campsite or something like that, you know, so it's a little easier to transport. So they started making it in a can back in the day.
Yeah, I know those glass bottles, man. They clink around when they're rolling around underneath
your
seat. Every time you turn a corner, it's like, dude. How long's it been since you have been sober?
Man, I am going on 5.5 years.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, in May I'll be 5.5 years.
Nice.
I quit drinking December. My last drink was on December 9th of 2016.
Okay. How do you feel? 5.5 years removed. Do you feel like a different person now, or do you feel like it was no big deal? It's just something I set down and I'm just living my life, or how do you feel about it?
A little bit of both. I mean, if I'm being honest, I mean, I had a need to quit, and I had to just go straight cold turkey and just do it. I've had experience with treatment in the past that I'm pretty familiar with, so I don't like go to meetings or anything. But I actually thought, so to get to your question, I thought like after a year, I would have seen all the growth I was going to see, and then nothing was going to change after a year. Like it was just going to be like, oh, like all the changes in, you know, like my morning routine and my evening drink and everything like that were all going to change and just become like a wash. And then after a year, it was just going to be, you know, I was going to be a normal guy and not have any changes. But obviously we know that's not the case.
Right.
And now that I'm 5.5 years sober, I'm still like, seeing things like, whoa, you know, that's kind of crazy that like my body was so programmed in that one way for so many years. I drank way more than 5.5 years. So to say that the changes are all the changes are expected in 1 year isn't realistic when I drank for 35 years. I don't know, it wasn't 35 years, but you know what I mean? 30 years, I guess, something along those lines, you know, 30 plus years, you know, of drinking, and doesn't go away in a year.
Yeah. Like what sort of changes are you seeing now?
Just changes in like my thought patterns and like in recognizing things, you know. I think this far removed, I mean, which isn't like super far, but far enough, you know, I'm not like having that craving or like, oh man, like that salt on that margarita looks really good, you know, from like the table across the way from me or something like that, you know. None of that anymore. But just like the thought pattern, like recognizing the thought pattern and being like, oh yeah, my old coping mechanism was totally just to go, you know, crack a couple beers until the refrigerator was empty. you know.
Mm-hmm. So you actually have coping mechanisms, which is kind of what I'm curious about, because alcohol is something I struggled with, and the desire to drink has been lifted from me. Like I don't really crave alcohol anymore, but it's where am I going with this? I'm just wondering, like, you quit drinking without any sort of meetings or anything like that, but you said you've been to treatment before. So were you looking back on the treatment you'd been to before and taking those lessons you learned, so that when it was really, really time to quit for real, then it's like, okay, and now I have these tools in the toolbox. Is that how it was, or what do you mean?
Totally. Yeah. So that's a great point, because I wouldn't want somebody to think that, that I don't, that I just kind of quit cold turkey and that I'm just like, just not drinking. Like I didn't just change the drinking part of it.
Like, have you ever considered yourself an alcoholic?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So that's
Even
a
when I
word
was
you
drinking.
use.
Yeah.
Really?
Even when I was drinking, I knew,
Really?
yeah, towards the end of my drinking, I was like waiting for something big to happen so I could make a change.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
And like, you're just like, I guess when I was waiting for something to happen, I was like, you know, am I really waiting for something to happen? And like, how big do I want it to happen? You know, I mean, like, I don't want it to be like a, you know, a partially debilitating car accident and not be able to run or do the things I love, you know what I mean? But I need some like life-changing moment that can like wake me up and take me out of the funk and move on. I grew up in all sorts of treatment, facilities.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
Gosh, I was a pretty wild kid. I mean, I'm still pretty wild, but I'm not a kid. but if you could imagine that, I run 240 miles and I think that's fun. You can only imagine what I thought was fun when I was like 14, 13, 12 years old. You know, I was a pretty crazy kid in short order.
Yeah.
And I got in some trouble, early on. And my mom recognized it. My mom is, well, she was a nurse, but she was more like on the mental health side, the psychiatric side of things, and that type of nursing. And so she was really hip on it and keyed in on that, that there was an issue, something was going on. And so she sent me away to treatment, and I did like a 90-day program, came home and screwed that up, and then went to like a 30-day like hospital one, like with like in the mental ward type of setting, you know. And I did that one, came home.
So how did you feel about these visits when you were, you know, young teenager, and your mom sends you away to a rehab or a sober living? And what were your thoughts then? Were you trying to accept the program and be sober, or were you just like, look, man, I'm not ready for this. Well,
I wasn't even ready, quite honestly. You know, when you show up to a rehab center and you're like nearly the youngest participant, you know, your stories aren't that grandiose compared to the others in there.
Yeah,
and your rock bottom isn't even a rock bottom yet, you know, like you're still riding the high of like, you know, of having fun with it, you know, like you haven't, you know, so to answer your question is like, these guys had some like serious drug stories and serious issues they needed to work on. So I had to sit through the meetings with them and hear them out. And I talked and shared too. I mean, I was an active participant, don't get me wrong, but cumulatively, I want to say I did probably near 4 to 5 years in rehab on and off.
Whoa.
Until I was just about 18. And basically I essentially kind of like checked myself out, or it was enough time that I was gonna, you know, exceed the limit on my age to be in rehab.
4 to 5 years before the age of 18. Like, how do you do that as someone who has to go to school? How does that work?
So I went to a rehab that was also a school, school oriented. Actually, it's kind of a crazy story. It was a school, and they did give me some learning and some objectives, but I also had like chores to do. I was a cook in the kitchen. I had to do a barn duty, you know, some mornings. I had to go and watch a senior elderly individual whose parents were the operators of the facility. I had to do that once a week at night. So, you know, so it was like a working farm, if you would. and they had a school program for the kids that needed it, for the participants that needed it. There was adults at this program. It was like a halfway house. It was a church on site. We went to mass every day. We went to meetings every night. Really kind of a weird dynamic and setup. Again, I was one of the more younger participants in that setting. When I did eventually get out of there, less than 2 years later, one of the issues is that none of those classes transcripts would transfer over to public school. So when I came back to public school, they were like, "Oh no, you got to be a freshman," and that's when I like blew off school. I was like, "There's no way,
Right?
I'm going backwards. Like, there's no way." And not that I learned a lot in that setting, because it wasn't like your traditional like 7 to 3 p.m. type of school setting, you know.
Sure. So where were you at when you were like, say, 17, 18 years old? You've been through a few years of rehab, sober living. Were you trying to stay on the straight and narrow, or were you just out wilding out, or somewhere in the middle? Or
I think I was somewhere in the middle. I mean, like when you're locked up and incarcerated in those types of facilities, I was doing the walk. I was walking the walk just to make the experience as best as possible, I guess.
So
maybe that's one way of saying it.
Were these court ordered, or is it just someplace your parents sent you?
A couple of them were court ordered, and a couple of them were not court ordered. Yeah.
Okay.
Got it. They were kind of a mix of both. When I did get out, I kind of went ballistic and crazy. One year we went to I lived in Jersey growing up in North Jersey, and we went to the Jersey Shore for like 6 weeks. Me and 3 of my friends ran away to the Jersey Shore, and we went just hate, just balls to the wall type of thing, just crazy. But in short order, but I knew, I actually been in those programs long enough that I was like 16, 17 years old, and I was like facilitating AA meetings at the local church down the street, and the residents would come in. This is upstate New York area. And so I was introduced to that scene and that scenario at a very young age, and was really, and am really familiar with it. I got out, did other things in life, and then when I was nearing the end of drinking, and I was looking for that, like, how am I going to get out of this hole I'm in? And I was looking for that moment of change. It actually happened. I was at a friend's, my last night drinking. I was at a neighbor's house in my neighborhood here. I went up there for MMA night to go watch some fights. He's a single dude, and I have a wife and kids, and so I was like, and I'll do the responsible thing. I'll ride my bike up there. Of course, it's December 9th. It's like 5 degrees outside. It's a full moon. So I load up a backpack full of beer, and I pedal my sorry butt up the hill and go to the neighbor's house. Drink all my beer, I drink all his beer. I get on the bike, and I come down, and again, it's 5 degrees. There's it's just like a snowpack. The whole road, the whole area where I live is just completely snowpacked. Like there's snow on the ground. It's stick to ice type of thing. And at this one intersection, I was coming down the hill, and at this intersection, the bike came out from under me. This is all recollection. I don't remember any of it.
Oh, really? Okay.
The bike comes out from under me. And when I talked to the neighbor and asked him, "Hey, what time did I leave?" He said, "Oh, you left about 11:30 after XYZ fight, 11:30, you were out of here." And the next interaction I had, I live 5 minutes away on a bicycle. And the next interaction I had was with the sheriff, and I was on the neighbor's front porch. Between his house and my house, I was at some random neighbor's house, banging on the door at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And the sheriff showed up. Luckily that's who they called instead of ran me off. And the sheriff is like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And he's like, "What do you mean you don't know?" He's like, "Man, you're pretty messed up." And so I had fallen on my bike so hard, and I had no reaction time to like break my fall, that my head hit the ground so hard. I had like a huge concussion, but I'd knocked myself out from 11:30 till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Whoa, you're lucky you didn't freeze to death.
5 degrees, right? I was wearing Sorels, like, big snow boots. and the bike had like laid over on me. And when I did get up, I pulled my foot out of the boot because it was stuck under the bike. And so I walked to this neighbor's house with one boot on and one boot off. And I separated my cheekbone from my skull and broke my nose. I had hit the ground so hard, the impact. So I had to get like reconstructive surgery to reattach the cheekbone. The whole cheekbone just came dislodged from the skull. So the sheriff's like, "You're messed up, dude. You got, and he went up and found my bike and found my boot." So it collaborated the story. I was like, "Man, I was on my bike. I was doing the right thing, sir."
Yeah.
And he's all like, "What?" And he's like, "Where's your shoe?" And I'm like, I looked down and that's when I realized I don't have a shoe on. And I'm like, I don't know where my shoe is. I got one on, So he calls an ambulance. The ambulance comes and gets me, brings me to the hospital, and Katie shows up, and they got to go fix it, and they got to stick this rod in my temporal lobe and push the cheekbone out and then reattach it with these little plates and pins.
Oh.
And they went
So you still have metal in your face?
Yeah, a little bit. There's some metal right in here, and I think there's one up in there. I got a little scar, but it's hard to see. But I'll send you a picture of. So that sheriff, one thing he did, he's like, "You're messed up, man." He's like, "Have you seen yourself?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like thinking about it. And he said, "Hey, you got a cell phone on you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Take a selfie." So he shines his spotlight on me, and this is the middle of my neighborhood, and outside of town, so really super dark. So he shines a spotlight on me. So I stick my phone out and take a selfie, and I still have that picture. And when I woke up in the morning, I came home. I couldn't go to work for a week. I had such a concussion. I couldn't, even for my doctor's checkups, I couldn't look out the windshield, the moving trees.
Really?
Like just messing with my eyeballs and my concussion. So I had to look at my shoes on the floorboard of the car.
Oh.
Like that's how bad of a headache I had, like for a week. And Katie did leave to go. She put me up in we have like a tiny little chair in our master bedroom. And so I had like that with a footrest, and I had the controller, like the water and the snacks or like some chips or something, like all the necessities right in my arm's reach. And she's, "You can't get up and like do anything." Right. So she goes to the store to go get more meds or something. And she comes back and I'm walking on the treadmill downstairs with both hands on the handrail because I wanted to run. I wanted to race. I had a season coming up.
What did she say? What did she say about that?
Well, she was pretty pissed, but
is Katie a nurse?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So at least you were in good hands.
Yeah, I was totally taken care of for sure. But she tried to talk to the doctor, and she tried to like, "Hey, tell him he can't train." And he's like, "You can train, you just got to go easy." And so she's like, "That's not what he needs to hear. Like, like going easy isn't what it means to you and I. Going easy for him isn't not this." But in short order, so I knew. So that was my life-changing moment. That was what I was looking for. And
that's rock bottom.
I'm done. I'm done with it. And Katie gave me the ultimatum as well. The girls were freaked out and scared when so I mean, I literally had like one half of my face was totally normal, and the other side of my face had like gravel scrape in it, and was like reconstructed. It was swollen. I broke my nose too, so they went in through the same incision through the bottom of my eyelid and rebuilt my nose. Rebridged it up and everything.
Wow.
Yeah. Just kind of crazy. But in short order, I haven't drank since then. That was the last drink I had, was that MMA night. So I count like my first day of sobriety that following morning, because I was pretty much drunk the rest of the evening.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
wow.
So I mean, I wasn't saying that meetings weren't for me at that time, but I thought, let me see what I could manage without physical meetings. And so I have the understanding of meetings, and I understanding of the book, and all the facets of the AA program and all that kind of stuff. And again, it's been years, but it was ingrained in me. I mean, I was a young adult and had been in that environment for a long time. So what I was doing is, again, I'm an endurance athlete, and I was looking for those stories that were relatable to, like the Rich Roll stories, like he's like an endurance athlete, and he's also sober, and and he eats well, so I used like a lot of his podcasts. I found all the books on people that you know, like the road to recovery, you know, how like running changed their life, or, you know, they found running through sobriety, or any of those types of stories. I found all the books and all the podcasts, all the audio books I could find on that. And that was kind of like my meetings. When I was driving to work, I was putting in, and I was like, oh man, that's totally relatable. And like, oh, I totally relate to that. And that's totally, you know, my gig, and just kind of figuring out what worked for me. And so, yeah, that's kind of, and I still do that occasionally. I'll find something that like really intrigues me, and it's like sober living related, and maybe has some aspect of endurance in it. And sometimes not even, some of them are just sober stories. And I'll just listen to them and relate to that.
Yeah. So going back a little bit before the accident, when you were still drinking and in your sort of like active addiction, what's it like drinking like that and wilding out with a head full of 12-step recovery programs? You know, like, you know how not to drink, you know what you should be doing. And at this point, you've really sort of done some self-examination. So you've admitted to yourself you're an alcoholic, but you've kind of given up on trying to stay sober and you're drinking. What's that like? Is there like guilt there? Are you feeling guilty? Like, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm doing it anyways. I'm just picturing like a war inside my head if I were doing that. So I'm wondering what that's like.
Yeah, there is somewhat of that. I mean, it wasn't like every day or every moment by any means, but usually that guilt only, like that, like, dang, I know better type of guilt came over me if something went bad with the drinking that night. You know what I mean? Like if I got in trouble, or you know, if like Katie and I had a fight, or you know, something happened, or I got in a fight with a friend, or you know, like something bad happened. But if it was a decent night of drinking and we all had smiles and laughs and fun, you know, no guilt.
Right.
You know, so it was only at its worst where I was like, dang, I know better, or I know there's something different out there. So it wasn't like all the time that I was guilting myself into it. You know, I mean, I did have my run of like DUIs and you know, all those things, and they never actually changed me. I mean, like, not that they didn't change me, but I mean, they made me pay through the nose, and I had to do all those classes and all that kind of stuff. Luckily, I never hurt anybody or anything like that physically while I was drinking, but really, I was like waiting for my own epiphany moment, my own rock bottom, and I didn't know what that was going to be. And apparently, slamming my head on the concrete just a half a mile from my house was it, and it was totally enough.
Dude, that's scary, being in a place where you're just waiting for a rock bottom so that you can implement change and get better, because you know you can't do it on your own.
Yeah.
You know, that's scary, man. That's really scary.
Well, 2 years prior to that, or the 2 years leading up to that, there was like some real life-changing moments. Had a couple friends pass away, maybe not directly related to alcohol and drug abuse. One was definitely an overdose. A kid I grew up with in New Jersey overdosed on heroin after being sober for a couple of years, but it was almost more intentional, maybe more of a suicide type of out, as opposed to I think he used one time after a 5-year hiatus, or 4 or 5 year hiatus, or
that's
something.
That's usually what does it.
Yeah. And then another one really close right here in my town that I live in. A neighbor struggled and didn't survive. So it was coming. We moved, and we moved across town, and it's just a lot of drama with it. You know, a lot of emotional baggage with it, and I knew that there was a couple outcomes that were going to happen. Either I was going to wind up with those guys and not make it, or I was going to figure out my way. I'd gotten a DUI just a few months after that all. And I thought, well, maybe this is it. And I went to the DUI meetings, and I went to, I did the program that the court made me do for the DUI, and it like slowed it down a little bit, maybe brought some awareness back, but it didn't. It wasn't the fix. It wasn't going to work. I was back to drinking pretty quick, and just drinking on the weekends. And I wasn't like, when I was drinking, I wasn't like I was like the weekend drinker. Like I was totally functional. I think that's why I was able to go on for so many years. And I could drink all night. I would go to your house and bring some beer over as an offering, but really I was going to drink all my beer and I was going to drink all your beer too. And I wasn't going to bed until there was no more beer left.
Yeah.
But tomorrow I don't have to drink, you know what I mean? But when I did have a beer, I mean, like I would drink everything out. And I even noticed that at the end, I was like, all right, like I got to go to the store and get like a suitcase of beer, like, because I need alcohol at the house. Because if I only drink 4 beers, if I only have 4 beers at home, I still gonna need more. Like I'm not gonna just finish at 4 beers. I'm gonna go drive back to town and go get more beer. So I'm like, let's offset that by getting more beer at the house, you know.
Were you just a beer guy, or did you do booze or anything too?
Yeah. Yeah, anything. I mean, I drink anything really. I mean, besides Heineken.
Were you a drug guy?
Oh, a little bit. You know, in my younger days, I was. Back in my Wild 'N Out days in New York City, North Jersey, Jersey Shore.
Was that something? Was that a struggle for you, or was it mainly the alcohol that was the big problem?
You know, I mean, I think my life just evolved where the drugs for the risk and reward weren't beneficial. I mean, I have a wife and kids at home, and it's pretty easy just to go to the liquor store. I didn't have to go, score anything. Like I just had to go to the liquor store and buy booze and drive home and then drink myself until oblivion. And then, and quite honestly, unless you were looking at my recycle bin, no one really thought anything of it,
Sure.
So I think that was just like the evolution of it. But I was a pretty wild kid, all over North Jersey, New York City, Midtown Manhattan, Spanish Harlem, all sorts of drugs and different scenarios and different drugs at different times too, different trends, I guess I would say.
Okay. And then after the big accident, was it immediate in your head? Like, okay, now I need to stop. Or was there some back and forth in your mind? Were you thinking about it, like weighing out the options, like maybe I'll give myself another week or a month and I'll quit then? And was it easy for you, or was it really, really hard to stop drinking?
It was at that moment. Like that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for this change. I was like, something's got to happen. Something big's got to happen to make me stop. And I'm not sure what it is. Yeah. And so I literally, like, although, Katie gave me an ultimatum and the girls were really scared and all those things, I really wanted it at that time too. Like it, and so I'm not going to say it was easy by any means, but it made it easier.
Yeah.
That I was making a decision. No one was telling me to go. The court wasn't telling me to go to some, DUI recidivism class or something like that. It was totally my choice. And that's when everything changes. I mean, I think if I make a choice to do anything in my life, it's way easier than you telling me to do it.
100%. I agree 100%. Yeah, man. Someone gets a DUI and they get mandated to go to these meetings or whatever, and they just don't want to be there and they're not ready for it yet. You have to make the decision to say, okay, now this is the time where my life is going to go a different direction. And once you make that decision, quitting or whatever the substance is, even I just remember like quitting cigarettes. Like once I decided I'm done with this shit, it was over and it was easy to quit. But when I wasn't ready and I was making these half-ass attempts, I was really struggling. Like it wasn't easy to quit. I was just struggling in my head too much. You have to make that 100% commitment decision, and then things are a little bit easier there. Wow. That's crazy, man. So that was almost 6 years ago.
Yeah. December 10th. So the half year, I don't know, I want to say birthday or so. The half year birthday is May 10th and my actual birthday is May 12th. So they kind of fall near each other as well. So
okay.
Kind of cool, two cool ends to celebrate, like the half year and then the full year in December.
Totally.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Where do you think you'd be right now if you hadn't quit drinking?
Jeez, who knows? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how long Katie was. I mean, she gave me the ultimatum, but I don't know how long she was willing to continue down that road anymore. I mean, she gave me the ultimatum, so who knows, you know, and we had 2 kids already, and we still have the same 2 kids, but no more kids is what I'm getting at.
You didn't trade? I thought you traded kids.
No, we don't even have 2 kids. We have like 1 pre-teenager and one still kid. But anyway, yeah. But in any case, yeah, I don't know where I'd be, man. I honestly don't know. I had ran, my last DUI had put me in the county jail for 60 days. I think that's like the 4th, maybe the 3rd or the 4th.
DUI?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Dang.
Oh yeah, quite a few.
Okay.
Over the course of like 20 years,
Sure.
25 years in short order.
So you had lost your license?
I did, but again, I got it back like right when I got out of jail.
Okay.
I got like that breathalyzer thing in the car.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, and again, that didn't stop me. I was drinking when I had the breathalyzer. I just wasn't drinking when I was driving the car.
Right.
And I mean, it served its purpose in that regard. But I don't think it helped like the alcoholic. It just helped the alcoholic get to work.
Yeah. 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 Isn't it crazy how going to jail and getting a breathalyzer in your car and 4 DUIs still isn't really enough to make you say, I quit? You know, it's like, nah, you know, I don't really have a problem. I mean, the problem was that the cops were there. They're the one, they caught me. That was the only problem. I don't have a problem drinking. It's like when you're in that active addiction, denial is so strong, man. I mean, you can just deny. It's like you're living with a bag over your head. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think another DUI would have, I think it was like a minimum of 2 years in jail. So it would have been pretty significant, you know. I mean, it would have, 60, and in 60 days, quite honestly, again, you know, like I was super lucky. Like, I worked for a town government at the time, a different one that I currently work for. I worked for town government at the time, and the county that the town is in allowed me to do basically outpatient jail. So I was like on a work release. I could go to work, and then my boss was game on it because I could go to work and I didn't have to lose my job.
Yep.
And you know, I had to like do the pat down and the breathalyzer going in and out of the jail every night and every morning type of thing. But basically, you know, I told my boss, I'm like, I want to work, you know, 6 days a week, 10-hour days. And he's like, that's great. You know? And so I was like, so I tried to keep myself out of jail as much as possible.
For sure.
It's kind of a weird deal too. It was kind of crazy because it didn't really, the lesson didn't hit home. The jail wouldn't mix, for rightful reasons, they wouldn't mix the work release program with the inpatient program. So the work release program didn't have a kitchen or a cafeteria. So they let you out for, I think it was an hour at a time for 3 times a day. On the days that you were inside, and like on the weekend, like on your Sunday, to get food. And yeah. And so on Saturday, I would bring from work, I would bring back all these groceries with me and load up in the refrigerator. And then on Sunday, I would go for my hour and say, I'm leaving for my hour. I used the vague term, like I'm leaving for an hour. And they're assuming I'm going to go get food. And I would run the trails for an hour, and then I would come back at like 1 hour and 2 minutes, like completely drenched in sweat, like looking at my stopwatch, like hitting it, and I would go upload it to my phone, you know, like
starting and ending at the jail.
Yeah, and I did that 3 times a day. One of the days I got in like 27 miles in 3 hours or something like that. Yeah,
no way. What were the other inmates saying? Did they know?
Yeah, they were like, "You're crazy." I mean, they were like more crazy at the fact that I was a runner and not because, you know, they just didn't get that concept, you know.
Yeah.
And they had a spin bike inside of the in like our little pod, an indoor spin bike. Yeah. So like eventually I got like biking clothes brought to me, and I put on these, you know, like the full cycling kit in the middle of this jail and rode for like it was football season, because I remember watching a football game and I was just riding away. And at first they were all shy because they were like, you know, like, why is this guy wearing spandex? It's pretty awkward, you know? And then by the end they were like, dude, you're like crazy. You know? So I don't know if the lessons hit home, you know, for 60 days of jail.
Right.
when I'm doing that, you know. And
it sounds pretty soft.
Yeah, it was super soft. Yeah. And then we could order out food too. So I would have food delivered, and the inmates or the guards would get annoyed because I'd order like some really decent food in the place that I was in. You know, like one of these high-end mountain towns, and just like ordering like ribs and mashed potatoes. And, you know, I was like, man, I was trying to eat my vegetables, so I got like triple vegetables on it. And I you know, you have to like buzz into the guards and you tell them, hey, I got food coming. And they're like, okay, you know, and just think it was like some, you know, Subway sandwich or something like that. And then like this gourmet meal shows up and I'm like, you know, $40. I paid them $40. Actually, I think we were like making money in the jail because I was like not doing it. I wasn't driving. You know, I didn't have any, I didn't really spend any money. I mean, other than food.
Right. Wow.
Kind of crazy.
Pretty wild. Yeah, man. Do you think you would have done as many of the races that you've done if you had continued on drinking? Like, it sounds like while you were drinking, you were still running and athletic and exercising and still fit, but would you have been able to have done the Moab 240? Like when I was drinking, I was still running and racing as well, but there was a big duality in my life between the two. And they were always competing for my attention, the drinking over here, the racing over here. And I'm trying to balance the both of them. And it was a real tough thing in my head, you know, and okay, I'm not going to drink tonight so that I can run tomorrow morning. But then after I run tomorrow morning, then I can drink the rest of that day, take the next day as a rest day. And, you know, I would plan it out in my head, literally like that, down to the hour. Was it like that for you, or am I just a freaking nut job?
No. We know you're a nut job, Adam, but you know, I was telling you, I drank consistently for 30 plus years or something like that, from when I was a young kid, on and off, obviously in those rehabs, and on and off in different times of my life, but mostly on. But I've been a runner for longer than that. I started running distance when I was like in 8 years old or so.
That's right.
7, 8 years old. I ran the mile. And then even at like the high school age, I only competed at like 5K, just before high school, I guess, or like that freshman year. Even when I was in those rehabs, they would, you know, I would do good and get brownie points and merit points. And they'd say, hey, what do you want to do? I'd say, I want to put on my running shoes and run around the property, you know, because I knew I wasn't allowed off the property, but I was like, if I could run the perimeter of the property for an hour and a half, that's what I want to do. And sometimes they'd let me out and they'd let me go do that. And, you know, they had somebody standing outside watching or something like that, but whatever. But, you know, like that's like total freedom, you know? So running's always been a part of my life. And as much as I drank running, at least, I mean, who knows what would have happened, and where that pendulum would have flipped sides, but running was always a priority. And I had this innate ability. I could drink until the bar closed till 2:30 in the morning. I could go to the after party at somebody's house till 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock, stagger back to my place, drink my last beer, 4:30, and I could be out the door. I could take a 2-hour nap and I could be out the door at 6:30 in the morning. I'd suffer for the first hour, sweat it all out, and then I'd go run the rest of the remainder of the workout just as easily. And sometimes I was doing that to get to work, like, oh, like I can't show up like smelling like booze and hungover, so I'll go run for an hour and then shower, rinse, brush my teeth, go to work. And I was like pumped and jazzed, full of energy. You know, I'm not a big sleeper, still not a big sleeper even without drinking. And so that kind of really, you know, I mean, a couple of days of that would wear on me, but man, I could do that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday easily.
I'm just sitting here thinking of your story, and you were in the Marines too, right?
I was in the military, yeah.
Yeah. So like, how does that all fit into this? Were you drinking hardcore while you were in the military too? I'm guessing that's pretty much the culture there.
Well, you know, it was, but I'm extreme, man. I am freaking extreme, bro. And and I was like the extreme drinker. I mean, if you put me in a room with a bunch of Marines, yeah, I was the extreme drinker. But and some of those nights to tell those stories is that I would drink until PT in the morning. I wouldn't even like try to sleep. I would just drink till 5:30 in the morning, show up, just stinking and reeking like booze, maybe swaying in formation a little bit, And then we go do this formation run, and the running was easy for me. So it was like, oh, there's my out. All these kids were suffering, and like just couldn't run as easily in boots and all that kind of stuff. And I would just go run 6 miles and sing all the songs and
still drunk and just crush it, I bet.
And be sober as could be by the time I got back for,
Okay.
For breakfast,
Dang.
after the run.
Wow.
I did run into some trouble in the service though. So I was first off, there's a couple stories there. I was a fraudulent enlistment in the Marines. My recruiter was the recruiter of the year for like 2 years in a row. And I didn't have school transcripts. I took a GED when I was like 16 and a half or 17 years old. I just went down to the local community college, took all the tests, and I said, whatever I fail, I'll take the courses for that subject and try to pass the GED. And I passed it all just straight off the get-go. Yeah. So I was done with school because that was the annoying part. That school that I was at, that rehab, didn't transfer those grades over. Mm-hmm. So they wanted me to be a freshman when I was like a junior. Mm. So I was like, no, there's no way. And so promised my mom I'd get the diploma. So I went down the street, got the diploma and GED, no school transcripts. In order to be a GED enlisted service member, you have to have 2 years of transcripts. And this guy was just a hoot. He was just crazy. This all came out in the wash years later. The recruiter went to my local high school, and I have an older brother, and got my brother's files and my files and kind of mended them together.
No way.
And totally fraudulent, enlisted me. Yeah, I shouldn't have been there. I had like, maybe some charges that I shouldn't have been there with either. But in short order, he got me in. I went through boot camp flying colors, loved every second of it. I was a huge, I just loved the physical aspects of it. I loved the mind games of it. Both ends of it really kind of suited my style at the time. I was super quick and witted. I could think on my feet. There was no hesitation in anything I did. I was either all yes or all no, whether it was right or wrong, it didn't really matter. Flew through engineering school, went out into the fleet and went to these duty stations. 3 years into it, I was in Haiti, and basically we got busted for smoking pot, about 4 of us, before pot was legal, obviously. It's still not legal in the service, but we got one of the guys that was with us ran his mouth to somebody else, and so on and so forth. This whole daisy chain of events happened, and I got dishonorably discharged from the service due to drug use and alcohol use. Not alcohol use specifically, but they kind of go hand in hand, I guess.
Yeah.
Substance abuse for sure.
For marijuana.
Yeah.
And they'll still kick you out of the military for marijuana, right?
I believe so. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't been in like 25 years. So.
For sure. Wow. Unreal, man.
Yeah, but I did those things. I woke up every day, just that same thing. I would go super hard at night and go, hard during the day. I was just charged all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, when you're young, you can kind of get away with that. I kind of did the same thing in my 20s. And then in my 30s, it slowed down a little bit, but I kept doing the same thing. Wow, man. Well, thanks for sharing that story. I love a good recovery story, and I have, I have all kinds of recovery people on my podcast, especially that are into the endurance world as well. And I just love hearing these stories. They inspire me, and I hope that they inspire other people. And, I don't think that everyone needs to quit drinking. Everyone has their own journey, and everybody's relationship with alcohol and or whatever substance is going to be a little bit different. So you have to make your own decisions. But outside of the recovery topic, one of my last questions for you, sort of relating, is and I guess in a way you sort of answered it. I was just wondering how the hell you get everything done that you get done, because you're a family man with kids, with a full-time job. I think you have shit that you volunteer, and you're all over town doing all kinds of stuff, and you're training all the time. I'm just wondering how you find the balance to get it all done. I guess you sort of answered that by saying that you're not really a sleeper. I think you sleep. What do you sleep, like 5 or 6 hours a night?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, probably five or six good hours, and sometimes that's broken up a little bit as well.
Man, I wish I could do that. So you have an extra few hours a day that most people don't have. So that helps. But are you someone who gets up in the morning and trains, or are you training at night, or both, or what does it look like?
I train whenever. The good thing about running 240 miles and even 100 miles at this point in my life is that it's a 24-hour or better event, or longer. And so any time of the day is good time to train. Morning, afternoon. I train at lunchtime some times of the year. I just got a brand new treadmill. We replaced our old one, so I had a treadmill before, but we just got a brand new treadmill, so it's kind of a new toy for us. So we're juggling the use of that. So I might even get on for a little bit of walk tonight. But yeah, I do juggle a lot. I think sometimes it's a detriment, if I might say. Sometimes I feel like, man, I don't know if I'm doing, I'm getting these kids out enough, my own children. But I enjoy what I do. I love to have a little too much on my plate and try to make it work. Even like that testing today for USCA, I waited to the last minute for that thing.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I figured it out. I was pretty nervous about it, or not nervous, but just like, man, I got to get this done. I hope I didn't waste my money and all this kind of stuff. And I just knocked it out and was just like, whatever, just got to move on to the next thing. And
so you work well with a little bit of pressure.
Definitely. I actually don't work with deadlines that well, or I'm more of a procrastinator. Maybe not with my training, but with other things, I tend to procrastinate. But as it gets closer to the line, I work better, like doing it all in one good push, like this testing. I probably could have stretched that out for a couple of days, with like pausing it or saving it or whatever that thing was. There was a button there that said that, but I wouldn't have done well at that. I need to get on to the next thing. So I need to knock this out right now, move on to the next item.
Okay. But you're a big mileage guy. Like when you're at your peak training, are you running triple digits throughout the week, or
no,
not quite that much? Okay.
No, high mileage. I think in 2020 high mileage was around 80 or 90.
Okay.
80 or 90 miles. And I actually would condense that into like 4 or 5 days, just because of the life I have.
Okay.
So it wasn't even over like 7 days. So
okay. So let's break that down. That's a lot. So if you're running 80 or 90 miles in, like, say 4 days, so you have a few days off to, I'm guessing, spend with your family, work on house projects, stuff like that.
Essentially, I'm running 3 marathons in a row.
Right. And probably multiple times a day, right? I'm guessing you're doing 2 or 3 a day.
Sometimes it's 2 and 3 days. Sometimes I'll go for a run in the morning, come home, mow the yard, unload the dishwasher, reload the dishwasher, get the kids' bikes on the car, go back to town. I'll go run with them while they ride their bikes for another 5 miles in the afternoon. Then we'll go to the pool. They'll go swimming. We'll go swimming and hang out, relax, come back home. I'll either jump on the treadmill or go for an evening run. When my wife comes home from working at the hospital, and get a few more miles in that way. Or my wife's off from work and I throw a mattress in the back of my car and I take off for either east or west. I'm either going to the 14ers to the east of me, or I'm going to the desert to the west of me. And I'm driving there. I'm running that night. I wake up in the morning and I run again, and I get in the car and drive back home. And now I've gotten all my miles in.
Wow. How do you stay so focused? Is it just like, I don't know. For me, it's like as soon as I hit enter and I sign up for that race on Ultra Sign Up, suddenly I have just a plethora of this intense drive to train. And that's really all it takes for me. Are you the same way, just like self-motivated? Okay.
Totally. Yeah. But I have to have that dangly carrot. I actually struggle if I don't have an event on the calendar.
Yeah, me too.
I have thoughts of events, and I have the bucket list of events I want to do. But if I don't have that thing registered in my queue on Ultra Sign Up or something, and it doesn't say I'm in anything, man, it is just a plod. It is like, all right, well, you know, if I don't have a focus, there's nothing really out there, you know. And it could be a small something. I mean, it could be like, you know, the neighborhood 10K or something like that. And I'm like, all right, I got something to train for, you know, like
Right.
I'm going to wake up early and get that 10K in, you know, like,
Yeah. Wow. And you've got a full-time job. You kind of glossed over that too. So it's like, it's not like you are a stay-at-home dad and you just have all this time on your hands. I mean, you are as busy as it gets.
yeah, life is busy, man. But I don't know. Sometimes I fear what the alternative might be.
Really?
Yeah.
What does that, okay. What does that mean?
Like if I wasn't busy, like, or if life was just slower, like I need the busyness in my life.
Really?
Like that just keeps me going. I need the next thing. Like I already know what I might do after I get off this podcast or this recording.
Sure.
You know, I have two options here of what's going to happen. One of them I thought might be finishing up that exam, but I got that out already.
Yep.
But I might need to get a few more miles in, and I might not. But if not, I need to figure out we got weekend plans in Denver, so we'll be over your way.
Oh, this weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, I'll hit you up later. But
wait a second. Oh, no. Actually, I think I will be in town this weekend. I'll have to check, but I think I am.
Cool.
Yeah,
but yeah, I gotta either like pack tonight for tomorrow so I could get a bike ride in before we leave at noonish, or I gotta figure out the next workouts, and I'm only like typically a day or maybe 36 hours ahead of myself on planning. Like that's just basically the way things go. I'm like, all right, you know, here it is.
So that's how you get it done. Okay. So I kind of understand that. How do you relax? Like, are you able to go on vacation and just sit down for a week and just chill on a beach?
Man, or a week would be a stretch.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife actually will say that I'm like the planner. I need to have every moment of a vacation planned out. Like,
really?
All right, we're going to wake up at 7. We're going to hit the continental breakfast at 7:30. We're doing this at 8:00. We're doing that. You know, like I need at noon, I'm going to get my run in while you guys are at the pool. And then when I come back from the pool, we'll hit the move. You know, like I need that whole plan in my head. Like I can't like to sit around and like put my feet in the sand on a lounge chair at a beach or something like that. Not that I do that. But I think I could do it for about like 20 minutes before I would be like, all right, like, what are we doing? Like, what is the plan? Like, if this is the plan, I could probably do it for a little bit longer. But I need to know what's next. Like, I can't just sit there and like, be like, oh, maybe we'll have dinner, you know, like that doesn't equate. Like, and eventually maybe I'll get there. But right now, I think I'm in that mix where there's so much going on already that I'm comfortable having that something always going on. Like, you know, my kids are home, maybe when the kids go to college and it's just my wife and I, maybe I can relax a little bit more. But right now I don't see that. I don't have that relaxation mode.
Yeah.
Actually, I like the workouts. The workouts are, I don't know, they're like my relaxation, I guess. Yeah. They're my zen, they're my time. That's how I figure out all the world's problems and how to fix them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I get home and stop the watch, I forget them all. I forget how to do that.
Wow. I get it, man. I get it. But it's interesting. It's interesting. I'm just into human nature, and I just love studying people and how they live their lives. And like, you know, how can I improve my life? How do you do it? You know, what's the right way to do it? Yeah, man, I just love hearing everybody's different version of it. Well, cool, man. Yeah, let me know what's going on this weekend. If you're coming around, I'm pretty sure, let's see, I think I'm coming back. I'm going out of town. We're going down to Pine, Colorado, but I think I'm coming back either Saturday morning. I think like late Saturday morning or something like that. So yeah, but let me know. We can go for a bike ride or something like that. I mean, hopefully it's not as snowy as the last time you and I went for a bike ride.
It might be, I think. Oh no, tomorrow's supposed to snow, I think.
Tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be melted by then, but
yeah, I just know because we're going to drive over the passes. So I'm always checking the tunnel news.
Okay. Well, yeah, man, keep me posted. And as always, great talking to you. And thanks for doing this. Thanks for sharing everything and getting so detailed about your past. And where can folks find you? If someone wants coaching by Brian Passenti, is there an easy way to find you?
Yeah, I'm running Altitude Endurance Coaching. It's the name of my business. I have it on Instagram, Facebook, and I have a website at altitudeendurancecoaching.com.
Okay.
I'll be updating it with my USCA logo.
There you go. That'll get you like one more client, maybe.
Yeah. You never know. Everything helps, but the information was really good. In short order, I'm pretty easy to find. Cool. Brian Passenti. I think it's Passenti on the Run at Instagram, and I'm just regular Brian Passenti on Facebook. I only do Facebook and Instagram. I don't do any of the others.
Oh, you're not dancing on TikTok?
I don't know how to talk.
Dude, I think that.
Oh, I'm on Peloton as Rise Up is my handle on Peloton.
Okay.
It's my new social media. It's Peloton.
I am not on TikTok either, but if you were on there dancing, I think I would join TikTok.
Oh man, that is not an invite I want to take.
Okay, fair enough. Well, cool, buddy. I'll let you go. Thanks for doing this, and have a good night. And it sounds like I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Okay, take care.
Take care.